we do have the tasting every month, and that's what that does.
Yeah.
We will feature what's growing. Like we will have in the fall the things that are growing for that little, like a festival, where we have samples and information about how to grow it, what it tastes like, how to cook it. We have recipes, and you can taste it.
Recording on sound, recording on video. Everything looks fantastic. Let's make some magic, guys.
All right, thanks, James. Well, I am welcoming in Alyce Sadongei from Mission Garden. We were just saying before the show. Well, I am welcoming in Alyce Sadongei from Mission Garden. We were just saying before the show that Mission Garden is one of those stories that we knew was important to tell and that was the anchor story of our show. But it's been like 8 years. Mm-hmm. So, anything happening over at the Mission Garden?
Oh, yes. A lot happened since 8 years. And I don't know the last time you ever have been there to walk around, but so it's actually, I think we're, in terms of the organization, I think we're in like 12 or 13 years.
Okay.
You know, the site itself, okay, that's important to know. The site itself is a historical site.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of archaeology. It's full of history, and we're located at the base of Sentinel Peak, or Tucson, which is the O'odham name for the Sentinel Peak. And that is the place where ancient indigenous farmers grew their food and their crops and cultivated seeds and used the Santa Cruz River, which was flowing way back when, to feed their families and settle. That is the beginning of this story thousands of years ago. And then fast forward to 13 years, what did I say, 13 years ago? Yeah,
well,
we got. So the Rio Nuevo project that was funded or approved by the voters of Tucson to take care of the history in that area. It was passed, things were moving, and then recession and things just dried up. And there was a core group of volunteers, some people who were very committed to the vision of that original plan, and they incorporated and called themselves Friends of Tucson's Birthplace. And one of their projects was Mission Garden, which is situated on that historic site, as I mentioned. And it's named Mission Garden because it's supposed to be, and it is sort of, a recreation of the Spanish garden that the priests at St. Augustine, which no longer exists, it was a convento. So it's not quite the church, but like the business of the church in the area at that time. We're talking Spanish colonial period.
Sure, like late 1700s.
There you go. I'm not good with dates, so I'm glad you are.
Oh, I'm making this up. So we'll be great. As long as you trust me with dates, we're gonna be just fine.
Okay, that's good. So Spanish colonial period, they had a garden, and they saw the ancient indigenous farmers there, and hey, let's do that. So they had a garden there. The ancient indigenous farmers were most likely displaced and, moved on, moved out, forced out, whatever. But that land that's the history of that place. So the project, Friends of Tucson's Birthplace, was to recreate that garden, because that was part of the original plan that was the Rio Nuevo plan. And so that's what they did. And so we are actually on the footprint of the walls of the mission that they put up. So that's kind of exciting to know that we're within that footprint, and underneath is the existence of those walls that were put up.
Recently, we did a story on the big celebration of Tucson with their 250th birthday, but it's very important that we recognize it as the 250 plus birthday, because yes, the 250 is that date, that arbitrary date that we've established as a city, but that plus represents thousands and thousands of years of history, and that was something that I learned very early on. I think in the very first interview was that Mission Garden is named because of its spot where the Spanish had their mission, but it's certainly, I mean, your recreations go well beyond that.
Right. And that's what the garden grew from. I mean, that was the vision of the founders that started this mission garden was to recreate that space with the agriculture. And so we have garden plots. We have they're in situated in timelines. And so since the focus was the mission, we have some Spanish garden up in the front with some orchards, some heritage fruit trees. And then we move on, or maybe we should start actually at the what they call the pre-contact garden, which is the archaeological kind of what the ancient indigenous people were farming there, what it looked like. And it is based on an archaeological site, I think somewhere north of Tucson, when they were trying to recreate this. So it features waffle gardens, which is a type of, they're not in rows, but they're like, if you can envision a waffle. And so they're little squares. So those squares gather water when it rains. So it's like a little tiny basin.
I didn't know they called them waffle gardens.
Yeah, waffle gardens. And so we have a sample of that there. And then some of the plants growing in there are reflective of that time. Don't ask me all the names of them because I don't know them, but we have maps and we have information galore on our website, which is, I think every plant is on our website. We've just put up a nice, I think we're calling it either encyclopedia or atlas, but it's really thorough.
The level of commitment of your volunteers is just so amazing because they spend so much time to make sure they're as close as they possibly can. Obviously, we've got different circumstances. They can't actually 100% recreate. We're doing such a fabulous job to be so authentic with every piece of that garden. It's just really tremendously
and our
inspiring.
staff too. I must point out our staff.
Yes.
Working on that. Obviously, they're good hand in hand. We need them. We need them both. But so we have that ancient garden. We have the Tohono autumn garden, which reflects traditional autumn gardening from. Again, I'm not good with dates, but post-contact is what they call it. Post-contact. So in this garden, you will see then the
and by contact, you're referring to like the
settler
the
white
European,
people contact. Yeah. And in this garden, so they're in rows. So they were being influenced by the settlers to plant in rows. So you don't see the waffle gardens there. But you do see a lot of traditional foods that people still enjoy today and like today. And then the other, moving on from that timeline, then we have what we call the Mexican garden, which is supposed to be, featuring a recreation of a type of garden that would be in Sonora, or actually reflective of some of the early gardens here in town in Tucson. As somebody once said in some material, it's like, what we'd find in our grandma's garden or Nana's garden, So then we have the Chinese garden that reflects the people and seeds and plants that they brought with them to work on the railroads that came in. But I think what's fascinating to me about that garden is that there was a group of folks from China, a certain region. I want to say the southern region. I could be wrong, but check our website to make sure. But that group came and settled in Tucson. And you know how you go, you settle and you bring in your family and friends. And so to me, that's interesting because there's a certain language they spoke or a dialect. And so we have that here, and that history is here. Chinese Cultural Center, we have a relationship with them where you can go and learn more about that. But I don't know if people realize that the Chinese community here was actually the first people that sold the produce to the settlers here. You just think of them in terms of, a lot of people think of just as a railroad, but it was more than that. They were actually selling to the people that lived here with their little wagons, carting it around and selling that produce. And then, of course, they had their own gardens. And they have, of course, all the seeds they brought with them were cultivated for this area, so they grow well. Just today, we had a sampling of cowpeas, which are in another garden called the African Americas Garden, which was related to the cowpeas, but the long beans are in the Chinese garden. We have jujube trees in the garden, which I didn't know until I started working there. And it's this tree that bears a little fruit about this big. And someone explained it to me this way.
The size of a quarter? Is that?
It's a little kind of round, like kind of a big, maybe sort of like an olive, maybe the size of an olive, maybe.
Okay.
And it's a cross between like a little apple and no, I've just lost my little apple and a date.
Oh, interesting. It's
Yeah.
called a jujube.
Uh-huh.
I've heard the name, but I think there's like a candy or something named that, and
Maybe it's
that's
I don't know.
but it's definitely not apples and dates.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a cute little fruit, and it has got that distinct taste, and it's small, and it's really nice. It's different.
But there's so much to talk about. We're not going to have nearly enough time today, but so much of the praise that we get here as a community for our being our city of gastronomy and the awards that we received for that and the recognition. A lot of people don't. I mean, they attribute it to our great chefs, and we do have fantastic chefs, but many people don't know that award was in large part based upon the work that your team is doing to recreate this millennia of agricultural history and connecting us with things that we wouldn't have in our presence if it wasn't for your group.
Yeah, it was a documentation of the rich, the deep history of growing food.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is, I'm happy we were able to contribute to that designation. And so we continue to do that. I think before we started, I was chatting about the how beautiful the garden looks now.
Mm-hmm.
It's lush, it's green, it's full. The trees are heavy with fruit. The figs are coming out. Oh my gosh. The greens are coming out in the African Americans garden. And so that's a lot of work to harvest and distribute, but we do distribute to some restaurants, but also to the food bank and to like elders' homes on the reservation, Paskoyaki and Tohono.
Okay.
And Ishkashita Refugee Network.
Okay.
We distribute to them as well. And then we also try to use some of it for our own tasting programs, which I just mentioned today. We're featuring cowpeas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a program that happens, I think it's the second Friday and Saturday of the month. And we try to just feature what's growing in the garden. Come taste what's in the garden.
That's fantastic.
So, and it was a nice taste today. I'd never really had cowpeas before. And they're not peas. They look like they're beans. It's kind of misleading. Yeah, well, they're like little beans.
Yeah, we call them what we call them. But
yeah,
the other thing that's really interesting to me about the garden is you, because you have this extremely deep background of promoting and serving in the different indigenous communities around the United States. I mean, you've well traveled.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I believe I even saw something about working with the Smithsonian.
Yeah, I did. I worked at the Smithsonian Institution for about 7 or 8 years. And what I did there was worked with tribal communities who were interested in starting their own museums and cultural centers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and then from there, actually, that was the work of the National Museum of the American Indian, but they were not staffed to do that. So I was indirectly creating a pool of talent as well that the museum could use to hire. And I'm really proud to say the first class of interns I had, the director was one of them, Cynthia Chavez, who later went on to earn her PhD.
Well, fantastic.
But she was like one of the first. So yes, I'm glad, because for at that time, a lot of, I think museum careers weren't seen as readily as education, law, health, for Indigenous people to go into. And so I'm really glad of that. So I think it worked, all that work. So.
There are a lot of legacies based upon some of the work that you've done. How did you then end up back in Tucson? Because are you from Tucson and came back, or
I'm from Phoenix originally. My mother was from Tucson, though.
Okay.
And I came back because my husband was going to finish his graduate work at the U of A.
Okay.
And I just made a query to work at the Arizona State Museum, and so I was hired there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was there for a while and then stayed at the U of A working also after the museum at the American Indian Language Development Institute to promote the use of native languages by Indigenous people. And then from there, I went to Mission Garden.
What was the pull? Did you seek them out? Did they seek you out?
Somebody gave me the job description and I thought I'd pass it on like I always do. And I read the description and I thought,
I didn't pass it on.
No, I thought, you know what? I think I could help these people.
When did you start then?
2 years ago yesterday.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
It's a remarkable institution that has so many intricate connections within our community. And the things we do, a lot of tours, and one of the things we love to share is this canal that you've built. to, and sort of the unintended consequences of being a wildlife refuge now.
Sort of, yeah. It's an acequia, which was recreated again, the canals that the ancient indigenous people used to get the water from the river for their crops. And yes, the state game and fish department is approached the garden years ago, I guess, but we have top minnow in there that are then gathered up by the staff, the fish and game folks, and then they are repopulated in rivers and streams. We have also a type of plant, an aquatic plant in there that also is endangered, that at some point was so thick along the Santa Cruz. So that's another thing to recreate. And just recently, we are the habitat for a mud turtle.
Oh, I did not know about the mud turtle.
Yeah, that was put in. He's in there or she's in there a couple weeks now.
Okay.
And apparently they will spend a lot of time in the mud, in the ground.
Then they're appropriately named, unlike the cow beans.
Yes.
Or cow peas.
Yeah, cow peas. Yeah, so that's the other thing. And then plus, because of that water, because of our location, because of the trees, we're a bird haven too. We have a birding thing every first Saturday of the month. And all kinds of birds have been sighted there. And I think that's also on our website.
And there's a fantastic rendering, a drawing that I know it's at the Presidio, and I think I've seen it at Mission Garden, that just show from A Mountain, the view to the east, as it would have been in the 1700s, with how lush and green, and the Santa Cruz River. And it's hard to imagine as you drive through there and see such, empty space. But then when you get inside the walls of the garden, and if you can all of a sudden transport yourself back and see, oh my gosh, this entire area was like this.
Right. Yeah, that's it. We're on a historic site. I mean, it extends all through that neighborhood. And I tell people that land there is inherently good. It took just as soil supplements and work, but that's inherently good soil all through there because it was on the floodplain.
Yeah. So much history there. The where do people find out information? You've got some things. You got third Thursday in August. You got a sunsets.
Yeah, we have summer sunsets. Thanks for reminding me. Every third Thursday. So we've got one next Thursday and one in August, the third Thursday, and we're open from 5 to 7. And it's cool. We're not surrounded by buildings, so there's not that heat trapping. It cools down when the sun goes down. It's a nice place to bring your dinner, bring your picnic dinner. We have a food truck outside. We may have some music. But it's just a nice place to hang out, and people come and hang out.
Yeah,
they
go
just
say hi
sit
to the
there.
mud turtle.
Yeah, say hi to the mud turtle. And as one of our newer staff people said, hey, bring your date here. It's free, doesn't cost. It's a good date night place.
Oh, there you go. So. Perfect. That's what we like to share dating advice now on the show.
Yes, exactly.
Where do we get all this information? It's
on our website at missiongarden.org. www.missiongarden.org.
Okay.
And it's really, there's so much information there on the plants, the history, the site, the events, the people, the animals, the birds. So yeah.
And the celebrations, because coming fall, when Membrillo Fest and pomegranate, all these things that the garden celebrates, the harvesting of these.
Right. And we are not doing those festivals as much as we used to because our capacity as staff and volunteers. But we do have the tasting every month, and that's what that does. Yeah. We will feature what's growing. Like we will have in the fall the things that are growing for that little, like a festival, where we have samples and information about how to grow it, what it tastes like, how to cook it. We have recipes, and you can taste it. And sometimes we have other people, other vendors, other organizations that also work with that particular fruit. So, but yes, in the early days, that's what I think we were known for the festivals.
Well, and what you're talking about are the key components of those festivals. It's understanding the fruit, the vegetable, not just as a food source, but also as a textile or as an ink, or the amazing ways that these creative cultures for centuries have figured out how to take this element and use it in so many different ways.
Right. We will have the Native American Arts Fair in November 8th, and that's a nice thing to come to as well. We've just recently incorporated cultural sharing component, so we have tribes from different parts of the state coming to share their song and dance.
Is that a newer?
It's always, this part is new. We've
Okay.
extended the time and the cultural sharing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you want to know more about that too, I know you did a great interview with Frank Powers.
Oh, yeah.
He's a friend of mine, and I was doing research, and I saw you, and I was just like, "Oh, Frank got to you first," but that's okay. His show it's a lifestyle show that he does, and I think there's a great another great segue into Mission Garden. So if you don't get all the information here, you can check that out, and we'll obviously stay in touch too, and post as things come up. And
Great.
James and I have made the decision we are not going to wait another 8 years.
Yeah.
To bring Mission Garden back. We'll maybe do something every year or so just to make sure we're staying on top of the amazing work that your staff and your volunteers are doing.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.